For former UK leader Richard Tice. Now, the House of Lords has defeated the government by voting against the flagship Rwanda bill on the same day that Channel migrant arrivals broke a new record for 2024. Despite elected MPs passing the Safety of Rwanda bill in the Commons back in December, unelected peers today blocked the legislation which seeks to declare Rwanda a safe country for migrant deportations. This comes as small boat arrivals broke records earlier, 385 illegal migrants sailing into Dover being the highest daily figure of the year so far. More than 700 across the English Channel since Sunday. That's 700 since Sunday, taking the total number of illegal migrants entering Britain via small boats to nearly 3,000 already this year. And many are predicting it to be another record year. Richard, with small boat arrivals once again battering our southern border, is it wrong that the House of Lords have blocked the government's Rwanda bill?
Well, look, it's no surprise that they blocked this bill. We all knew that would happen. It actually suits the Prime Minister, so he can now blame the Lords for stopping the Rwanda bill. We all know that it was never going to make any difference whatsoever, and the proof is in the pudding. These arrivals this week, last week, all this year, which are now some 35 to 40% higher than 2 years ago, right, clearly shows it's not a deterrent. And when Mark White did that report pre-Christmas, and they were sort of laughing at this Rwanda thing, thinking the whole thing's a farce and a joke, this just proves it. It's not a deterrent. It's ridiculous.
So would you scrap Rwanda then?
I knew it would never be a deterrent. Our plan is the only plan that will work. You leave the ECHR and you pick the boats up, people out of the boats, and you safely take them back to Dunkirk and Calais, which we're legally entitled to do under 2 international maritime treaties. And nobody, I've banged on about this for a year, nobody has proven me wrong, because I'm right, but none of these gutless, feeble people in the House of Commons, whether it's Starmer, Sunak, Cleverly, any of them, have got the guts to do it. That's the only way this will stop, because what we're seeing now is that actually the numbers are going up and up and up.
OK, but you would actually, in a way, have the same policy as Labour, which is to scrap Rwanda even if it was working. Then.
Because it's not working. We know it's not working. The proof's in the pudding. Literally, you've just talked about 380-odd coming over today. Almost 10, I think, 10 have sadly lost their lives this year. My policy, the reform policy, our policy, is the kind and compassionate one. That'll stop the deaths.
If you wanted to turn the boats back, would you not have to get that through Parliament and then through the law?
It's already allowed under international treaty law. It's there. I've read it. I know literally which sentences of which clauses. It's unforgivable that the government doesn't pick this up and run with it. Unforgivable.
They might be saying, well, actually, it's because we don't want to contribute to more loss of life in the Channel. But
no, it's the opposite, Patrick. It'll literally save lives. If we'd done this when I started talking about it, those 10 people who've died this year would still be alive.
OK, all right. We're also going to be talking about new data revealing that not a single burglary was solved by police in 48% of neighbourhoods in England and Wales over the last 3 years. That's despite a 2022 pledge by all 43 police chiefs to attend every single break-in. So, this led you, Richard, to declare that only your Reform Party will make Britain's streets safe again in that tweet. How?
So we issued our draft contract in Doncaster last week, and as part of that, we say we need an extra 40,000 police officers, which would bring us up sort of per head of population to a similar number to what they've got in France. We've got to get on with that recruitment process, and we've got to get bobbies back on the beat urgently, away from being behind the desk. The other thing you've got to do in parallel is you've got to build at least 10,000 detention places. You literally got to pick people up and take them off the streets.
How much is all this costing?
We've allocated, the policing, we've allocated an extra, I think, 3 billion, and for the criminal and justice side of it, an extra 2 billion, and we identify in our contract, which is on our website, how you pay for all this stuff. So we set out all the savings, and then we've got to spend it. Could you outline that a
bit? Because I think you also want to cut tax, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, the first thing is if you scrap net zero, you save £30 billion per annum. Serious cash. 30 billion. If you stop the Bank of England, if it stops paying interest, voluntary interest, on all the QE money that was printed, the reserve, that's another 35 billion. Literally 65 billion pounds a year that can pay for tax cuts, lots of other investments. And again, I mean, the waste in government spending, we all see it and it drives us nuts. They've got to be tough on this stuff. You've got to save £5 in 100. We're doing it at home. We're doing it in small businesses. The government and every spending department, every manager has got to do the same. You've got to scrap whole departments. I heard of one today I'd never heard of. It was a department of a department. And I thought, what a useless thing is that? And it sent me a survey. That's right, it was a active live survey. And if I filled it in, I got paid £5. Seriously? They send hundreds of thousands of these things out and they pay you £5 if you fill in a survey. Just don't bother with the survey in the first place.
OK, and the other issue with this, potentially, is that it's not just about the laws that we've got in place at the moment, it's actually enforcing those laws. And that's one of the issues, certainly when it comes to the protests.
But that's because, that's because of the criminal justice system. They haven't got enough resources, so you've got to increase the resourcing of it. And, you've actually got to have guidelines and sentencing.
And you would fund this by scrapping net zero and
Absolutely. It's all in our contracts. So we actually identify £146 billion worth of savings, and then where you've got to allocate that. And within policing and criminal justice, that's what you've got to do. And you've got to, and we set it out, the critical reforms needed in the first 100 days and thereafter. The crisis is urgent.
So you wouldn't just do it, you'd do it within 100 days.
You've got to start the process within 100 days. Right. People look at it, they'll see it. I mean, everything is so urgent, you've got to say, absolute, resolute, get on with this. Don't hold back.